All right, guys, so good evening. Today we are on the topic of consumer arithmetic. And as the topic suggests, consumer, everybody by now would know what consumer is, I assume. But let me ask the question, who is a consumer student? Who is a consumer? Anybody? Ms. Cox, who is a consumer?
Sir, as a science student, consumer is a person or animal that feeds on things.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds like a biological definition anyways. All right, but anybody can shine any light on the subject. Ms. Trevor?
Yes, sir.
Can you assist Ms. Cox and as to explain who is a consumer?
A consumer is the person who would purchase an item or the purchaser of an item.
All right. Anybody else want to add to that?
I'm agreeing with Ms. Trevia, sir. I was about to say the same thing. A purchaser or a buyer.
Okay.
That would be the consumer.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything else to add? All right. So that pretty much sums it up. In terms of economy, we are all consumers because we always are buying stuff. Now, unlike the biological definition from Ms. Cox, the definition would pretty much suggesting the same thing. The biological definition has to do with consuming food, but the economic consumption is not just food, but anything that satisfies our wants, right? We generally tend to buy stuff and so on. So there's a marketplace out there, there's a business place, and whenever there is a willing seller and a willing buyer, then you have a market. All right, so consumer arithmetic surrounds the whole process of buying and selling. All right, so we'll be looking at that shortly. Give me a second, guys. My phone is ringing. Let me just check to see who is trying to get through to me. All right, guys. So sorry about that. So as I was saying, so the topic of today is consumer arithmetic that surrounds any kind of transaction in terms of buying and selling. And so we're going to be starting off at profit and loss. So anybody, Michelle? Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir. I am currently having the flu, so I might not participate as much today.
I can understand. I too am fighting off some residual effects from mine too as well. So I understand. So if you are able to and you want to, then feel free. All right. If not, you just follow up and listen to what we are saying.
Okay, sir.
So profit and loss surrounds when someone is selling stuff. We generally call people who are buying and selling things, we call them merchants, right? Now, the idea behind buying and selling is basically to make a profit. So it doesn't make sense to buy and sell back something for the same price, because even though we are offering a service, we wouldn't be benefiting from the service that we are offering. All right, so what is a profit, students? When we talk about profits, can somebody define what a profit really is? Ms. Waysam?
Sir,
Oh, all right, Ms. Shea, I wasn't really expecting your participation, but go ahead.
sir, it is increased money from what you have sold or what the item was sold for.
All right, very good. So it is an increase on your goods purchase. When you sell it, you get an increase on your cost price, and so the increase is known as a profit. And so not all the time when we sell and make a profit. There are times when we sell and we sell at a loss. And there may be circumstances that may cause us to do that. Can somebody give me an idea in what circumstance you might find yourself selling at a loss? Ms. Wilson?
Sir, for instance, you have damaged goods, sir, and you have to apply discount.
Okay. So yes. So sometimes you may have goods that they're damaged and you end up now can't sell it for what you really buy it at, because the customer wouldn't be satisfied. So you really want to sell it at a reasonable price so as not to at least lose all that you spend buying the item. But at least if you gain back some amount of what you would have purchased it for, then you can make it up and replenish your stock. All right, very good. So everybody should understand the whole idea behind profit and loss. So the amount a merchant buys an article for is called the cost price. And the amount a merchant sells an article for is called the selling price. Now, in order to calculate our profit is equal to our selling price minus our cost price. Now, our selling price and cost price may be abbreviated with SP and CP. So when you sell the goods, you're going to be selling it with an increase, and the increase that you put on the cost price, that's your profit. So when you subtract your cost price from your selling price, what remains would be your profit. Now, it's not all the time you may have a profit. You only have a profit when your selling price is greater than your cost price, right? So in that sense, if your selling price is greater than your cost price, you're making a profit. Now, a loss is when your cost price is now greater than your selling price. So in other words, you are selling the goods at a lower price than what you actually buy it for. So in this case, you would have to have your cost price minus your selling price. And so that's what, when you take away your selling price, in this case, when your cost is greater than your selling price, you will actually calculate how much you would have lost throughout that sale. Any questions so far? Everybody's following. Now, there are times that we are asked to calculate our profit as a percentage of our costs. Now, remember now, the profit would have been the difference between your selling price and your cost price when your selling price is greater than your cost price. Now, if you subtract your cost price from your selling price, that's your profit, then it means that what you have, your selling price minus cost price, is actually the profit over the cost price times 100%. And remember now, when we are converting any fraction to percentage, we just simply multiply it by 100. Give me a second, guys. All right, sorry about that again. So here we would probably want to know what percentage our profit is of the cost price. And oftentimes our increase, we measure it in terms of percentage, not only from a profit point of view, but most increases, whether a profit or it may be a discount, or it may be something to do with wages. In the business world, we tend to measure these increase in terms of percentages. And that's one of the reasons why we actually study percentage, because it is an easy and convenient way of writing a fraction. And so in the business world, they use percentages a lot, all right? So that's our profit percent. Our loss percent will be calculated similar. So in this case, your cost price minus your selling price will give you your loss. So in other words, your loss percent is actually the loss over your cost price times 100. And what you should notice here is that the profit is over cost price and the loss is also over cost price. And then you times them by 100 to get the percentage. Is that clear, guys? Any question? Raise your hand if there's any question. All right. Raise your hand if everybody is following so far and everybody is understanding. All right, good. So moving along. So looking at this question now, we want to use this question to determine our loss. So the question says, a man bought a car for $48,000 and spent $8,000 to repair the engine and $6,000 to upgrade it. He was forced to sell the car for $50,000. Calculate his loss as a percentage of his profit. All right, Ms. Wilson, is there?
Yes, sir. Just to confirm, you said percentage loss would have been CP minus SP over CP, sir, times 100.
Yes.
Okay.
So the loss is when you're selling at a lower price, you have to subtract the selling price from the cost price. All right, so you have to ensure that you understand the loss is the selling, is the cost minus the selling, but the profit is the selling minus the cost. So I hope you guys are making a note of that. All right, so based on what this question is saying, can we somewhat go through this together? Who would like to tell me what the first thing that you want to do in this question? Ms. Trevia, do you have something to say?
No, sir.
All right, you can lower your hand, Ms. Trevia and Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson, do you want to say something? All right, apparently Ms. Wilson is not hearing me. Ms. Clark, go ahead.
So I'm not quite sure, but I think the first part of it, you're going to add the 8,000, the 6,000 with the 48,000, because I think it will come in as a cost price still.
All right. So you would have purchased a car for 48,000. You would have spent 8,000 in repairing the engine, another 6,000 in upgrade. And he was forced to sell it for 50,000. Anybody agree with Ms. Clark?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Trevia. Anybody else? Ms. Waysam, are you there?
Sir, I'm just back, sir, so I'm not sure what was said.
Because you still have your hand up and I asked you to lower it. All right, so the question was, Ms. Waysam, from this question, how do we go about calculating the loss? And Ms. Clark said that she would add the 8,000 to the 48,000 plus the 6,000 to give you the overall cost. And then now the selling price would be 50,000 that she sells it for. Do you agree, Ms. Lisa?
Yes, sir.
All right, so with that said, our cost then are what it costs her would be the sum of all that she spent in terms of putting the car together after he purchased it, all right? So clearly it cost him 62,000, 62,000, which is way more than what he sells it for. So how would we calculate the loss here? What would we do?
62,000 minus 50,000.
All right. So here our cost price would be 62,000 and our selling price would be 50,000. So we would have the 62,000 minus the 50,000 over 48,000, because remember, we are calculating percentage, the loss as a percentage of the cost. All right, so this is a percentage loss. So we would have to put the loss over the cost times 100. All right, so
Sir, question.
go ahead.
Why I did not just put 62,000?
Why didn't we put 62,000 for?
Sir, why you put 48,000 instead of 62,000 if it's the cost price?
Oh, well, the overall money that it cost him is really the additional repair and so on, but that's not what he bought it for. So his real cost was what he really bought it for. However, the additional expense would be calculated as spending more, but we don't call that the cost price. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what he bought the car for from the person would be the cost price. The 8,000 and 6,000 would be additional cost incurred, but not in buying the car. That would be in terms of repairing the car and the engine. All right. So, but it still have to be considered as a part of the cost in terms of what he would have spent. But if you're calculating it as a percentage of what the car was bought for, then we have to use the 48. All right, good question, Miss. Who was that, Miss Trevor?
No, sir.
Who-
Sir, it was Lashmi.
Miss Cox. All right, good question, Miss Cox. All right, but if we simplify this, I think you should be able to simplify this. I don't think I would have to go through the process of doing the calculation. Should I? Is the calculation straightforward for you guys?
Sir, you can work it out.
Let us do it. Let us do it. So we have 62,000 minus 50 would give you how much?
Sir, 12,000.
12,000. So here we would have 12,000. So we'd have 12,000 over 48,000. Times now 100 over 1. All right, so we can cancel zeros above with zeros below. So we have 3 zeros here. We can cancel with 3 zeros here. All right. Now we also see that we can cancel the 12 into itself, and the 12 into 40 goes 4 times. All right, and now we can cancel the 4 with the 100. 4 into itself goes 1. 4 into 100 goes 25. All right, guys. So the answer here would be 25%. All right, so that's how we arrive at that answer. All right. All right, so moving along. Now, simple interest. Simple interest is, anybody can give me an idea what simple interest is about? You have heard the word simple interest before? Let me see your hand. Okay, Mr. Giovanni. All right, now, when we talk about simple interest, it really boils down to when you're either investing money or you're borrowing money, oftentimes when you invest money, you're expecting to make some amount of interest on your money or some amount of profit on your money. And the interest that you get is the profit that you would gain from lending out your money, or in other words, investing your money. Now, if you're borrowing someone's money or you're borrowing money from the bank, likewise, the bank will make a profit from you. So you'd have to pay back the bank with interest. Now, oftentimes, interest is charged as a percentage of what you're borrowing or what you're investing. All right, so a percentage. And as I said before, a percentage is a very convenient way to find a fraction. So oftentimes interest will come in the form of interest rate. And the rate would be the percentage at which you're borrowing at which you're paying back rather in terms of the interest. All right, so we have this formula which gives you the relationship with your interest, your money invested, the rate at which your interest is paid, and the time over which either you're investing or either when you're borrowing. Now, if you...
Sir, what does the P stand for?
The P here is your principal.
Okay.
So let me just give you all the different formulas that we have here. Now, I in this case, I stands for interest. Now, if we consider that, let's say that you are investing $5,000 in some kind of business investment. So you're investing $5,000. Now, the money that you are investing is referred to as your principal. So the $5,000 here would be the principal. Now, sometimes the principal is not only money that you're investing, but it also refers to money that you're borrowing. So if you borrow money that you borrow is also referred to as the principal. Now, let's say you invest $5,000 and at the end of the year, you should make an interest of, say, 20% on your $5,000. How you go about calculating that? Can somebody tell me?
Repeat.
If you are investing $5,000 in a business investment and you're getting an interest at a rate of 20% for the year, how much interest would you gain from the investment in 1 year? How would you calculate it?
First you'd multiply the P times R times T.
All right, hear what? Don't look at the formula. Just think in your head, common sense. Don't look at the formula. if you invest, if somebody say, all right, if you put $5,000 in my company, at the end of the year, you'll get back 20% on what you invest. How much would you receive in the interest?
Sir, would it be the 20 over 100 times the 5,000 over 1?
Yeah, so you would calculate 20%, and what that would be, you would have to find 20% of the 5,000, because that's what your interest will be. All right, you find 20 over 100, right?
Yes, sir.
And then now you do the calculation. So you would cancel zeros below with zeros above. All right. And so you multiply what you have remain in the numerator. And this would be over 1, 2. All right. So we would have 50 times 20 give you what?
1,000.
It will give you $1,000. And so your interest for the year would be $1,000. Everybody follows? Everybody agree? Let me see
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
if it makes sense to you. All right. Now, what would happen should you invest this money and let it stay for 2 years instead of 1 year? What do you think would happen? How much interest you would get after 2 years?
2,000.
2,000, sir.
Right, so this now you would have to times it by 2. Right? So the formula really is just doing this, but the formula is just a convenient way of doing a calculation. Because a formula, what we do with a formula is to have it with unknowns. And so once you have the values for the unknowns, you just plug them into the formula and then do the calculation. So for instance, if we were applying the formula to the same question, our principal here would be P, and P in this case would be equal to
5,000.
$5,000. And then now our R would be equal to what? R is what?
The 20%.
R is the rate, which is given in percentage. So to find R, you always know that R is a percentage of the principal. So here now it will be 20%. And to find time simply means the number of years. So in this case, if we're doing it for 2 years, time would be actually 2. And all we do now is plug these values where the PRT is in the formula. So interest then would be equal to 5,000 times 20 times 2 years.